The facade of New Orleans. A city built on jazz, mystery, and shadows. If you walk down the historic French Quarter, past the flickering gas lamps and iron balconies, you'll eventually find yourself standing at 1140 Royal Street. To a regular tourist, it's just another beautiful, three-story Creole mansion. But to locals, it is the most haunted house in America. This is the LaLaurie Mansion. A place where high society met unimaginable cruelty. For nearly 2 centuries, the spirits trapped inside these walls have refused to rest. And once you hear what happened inside, you will understand why the Queen of Royal Street. Our story begins in the early 1830s. The mansion was owned by Dr. Louis LaLaurie and his wife, Madame Delphine LaLaurie, better known today as Madame LaLaurie. To the wealthy elite of New Orleans, Delphine was a goddess. She was beautiful, wealthy, and threw the most lavish parties in the city. Her ballroom was always filled with champagne, music, and laughter. But behind the velvet curtains and sparkling chandeliers, a horrific reality was hidden in plain sight. Rumors began to circulate. Neighbors noticed that Madame LaLaurie's house slaves looked incredibly thin, terrified, and weak. Yet, whenever the public questioned her, Delphine wore a polite smile. She was a master of disguise. But a monster cannot hide its claws forever. The first crack in the facade happened because of a young girl named Leah. Leah was brushing Delphine's hair when she accidentally hit a snag. Furious, Madame LaLaurie grabbed a whip. Terrified, the young girl ran up to the roof and, in a desperate bid to escape the pain, leaped to her death. The city fined Delphine and forced her to sell her slaves. But using her wealth and power, she secretly bought them all back through relatives. The nightmare continued, hidden away in the attic. The fire and the secret chamber. Everything changed on the night of April 10, 1834. A massive fire broke out in the mansion's kitchen. When the neighbors and bystanders rushed in to help put out the flames, they found a 70-year-old cook chained to the stove. She admitted that she had started the fire on purpose. It was a suicide attempt. She preferred to die in flames rather than face the punishment waiting for her upstairs. She told the bystanders to go to the attic. Dr. LaLaurie and Delphine refused to give up the keys, begging everyone to ignore the rumors. But the angry crowd broke down the doors to the attic anyway. What they discovered inside didn't just shock New Orleans, it horrified the entire nation. The attic was a torture chamber. More than a dozen human beings were chained to walls and operating tables. Some were caged. They were horribly mutilated, the victims of sick, twisted medical experiments conducted by Delphine and her husband. Some had their bones broken and reset in unnatural positions, making them look like human monsters. Others had their mouths sewn shut. It was a house of absolute, unadulterated horror. As word spread through the streets, an angry mob formed outside the mansion, demanding justice. But Delphine was clever. In the chaos, she and her husband managed to escape in a carriage, fleeing the city. She was never caught, and it is believed she lived out the rest of her days in Paris, escaping any earthly punishment for her crimes. The haunting of 1140 Royal Street. Delphine LaLaurie left New Orleans, but the agony she created stayed behind. Almost immediately after the mansion was abandoned, the hauntings began. For years, the building sat empty because no one could survive a night inside. Later owners tried to turn it into a luxury apartment complex, and even a music conservatory. But every single venture failed. Students reported hearing agonizing screams from the attic in the dead of night. Ghostly apparitions of chained spirits have been seen walking the hallways, crying out for mercy. Even actor Nicolas Cage bought the mansion in 2007, hoping to write a horror novel there. He only held onto it for a couple of years before losing it to foreclosure. He later admitted that the house had a terrifying energy that he couldn't escape. The scars of the past. Today, the LaLaurie Mansion is privately owned, and visitors are strictly forbidden from entering. You can only look at it from the pavement. But if you stand outside 1140 Royal Street late at night, when the tourists have gone and the wind blows cold off the Mississippi River, look up at the top floor windows. Some say you can still see a faint light flickering in the attic. And if you listen closely enough, beneath the sounds of the New Orleans night, you might just hear the faint, echoing sound of chains. The monsters may be gone, but the mansion never forgets. Thanks for watching. If you want more dark history and true horror stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, would you spend a night inside the LaLaurie Mansion?
See you in the next video, if you dare.